If you want to base your calculations on your own conditions, you make settings on the base and end page. Instead of labor costs, you write your hourly billing times months. I am writing 500 krona per hour here as an example. Let's go down to the final page. We'll start with a simple final page in this case, and go down to cost markup labor and zero out our markup there, since it's based on our hourly rate. When doing this, it is important to check for spill calculations, since it is otherwise included in our cost estimate. I then get a warning, and we have reduced it in our reallocation allowance for work. So I press OK, and the material sum is increased for waste. If we go down to the final page again, we also have cost proposals for material and subcontractors. Here we have the net cost in the calculation for both materials, labor costs, and subcontractors. This is when you pay for the different parts. Should I put a 10% markup on the material? So there is a 10% surcharge on the purchased material. Instead of cost estimate work, I could write fastening material to include it. Set a percentage rate here so that it's based per hour. We keep the overhead markup for subcontractors at 10%. Below here we have the contractor table and various contingencies. Because if you set 10% on contractor fees, it will result in double surcharges on my net costs. If you want to use server rent on the NASA table, it might be better to zero out my surcharges up here. Instead, I set a higher percentage on contractor fees, so that it directly affects my legal costs. At the bottom we have other additions, and that's money that goes outside.
Thank you very much.
For example, they could be land costs. If I enter an amount here, it will be added to the previous total amount without any surcharge. If you have made your own adjustments to the base and final page, it is also important to look at chapter 21 in the building section tree. This corresponds to our overhead costs included in the markup. Review these and add them into the calculation as individual construction parts.